Welcome to the Artist 2.0 podcast. Artist 2.0 podcast. Hey, welcome to the Artist 2.0 podcast. I'm your host, Sophia, and today I have one of my good friends that used to be here in Paris. We worked together in the slumlord of all slumlord jobs as a tour guide. Jaqueline Mifsud. You know, I've actually never had to say your name. Is that correct?
Not at all, no.
Okay. Okay.
Mifsud.
Mifsud.
That's
Okay.
all right.
So if there was a competition for the best tour guide in Paris and the worst tour guide in Paris, I would win hands down for the worst tour guide in Paris. It was not something I like to do. Our tours were supposed to be 3 hours, and I was done in 45 minutes, all of Paris. But Jack, on the other hand, her tours would go on for like 5 days, and everyone would be happy at the end, and everyone would keep following her. And I just couldn't figure out how she would do this. But if you ever had a chance to see Jack, can I call you Jack, or are you going by Jack?
Yeah, no, jack me
Or you
up.
just have a
That sounds good.
symbol like Prince? I
Mm.
don't know. So Jack had this amazing presence. You can tell that when she was in front of a group, she was in her element. Um, and I mean, it's no surprise now that you're kind of taken off in Australia. Now that you're back home, doing comedy and one woman shows and things like that, and I think it's really exciting. I'm super happy for you because I mean,
Oh,
seriously, if
thank you.
you've ever seen Jack perform, you knew this is someone who's going to be a mega superstar. So I'm glad that you started pursuing that. So, can
Mm.
you tell our audience a little bit about your history? I know you kind of have a theater background in school and just kind of a funny family and stuff like that, but you've had some kind of crazy adventures. You worked on a game show, a quiz show or
Yeah,
something like that, right?
yeah,
Then you kind of
graphics.
got, I don't know, kidnapped and toured Europe with some dance crew. So, tell us a
Crazy,
little bit
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's about a boy because it's not, but it certainly was the catalyst for me moving overseas. Yeah, always just loved being a show off and the youngest of three, and um, I have 11 cousins, and I'm the youngest out of them as well. So to get attention, I just have to do a bit of a song and dance, literally. And we were always performing, doing like just amateur theatre, which I loved. I just loved performing, and always did singing lessons as well. And that's what I loved about when we moved to over to Paris. Well, it's the only job you could get. You can get a be like a waitress, talk to babies, or a tour guide, and I'll take tour guide hands down.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I have
it
nothing in common
was
with children.
yeah, no, but it was great, and I missed that. And I moved back to Australia for heaps of reasons. Like just Paris just pushed me out. I couldn't deal with it. I started getting really agitated, really stressed. Started yelling at kids in the street. Yeah, I had a full body rash of eczema. Like shit, it was not agreeing with me.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean, living
and I,
in Paris as an expat is definitely a stressful thing. I know people hear that you move abroad and it sounds so great and so glamorous and stuff like that. But after like the first year, that glamour kind of goes away. It becomes real life, and it's a struggle. It's an everyday struggle. Not just the cultural differences, but the bureaucracy and trying to find work and figuring out what you want to do. It's really hard, and the French are not that easy to live with either, especially as an expat. So I can understand that frustration and wanting to kind of leave.
yeah, and for me it was the accommodation. Like I moved 13 times in the 4 years I was in Paris. And I have a Maltese passport, so dual citizenship, a European passport. And I was never at all a little bit illegal, but I did everything right. I was paying taxes and I was doing all this stuff, and I was had a French friend go to all those taxation offices to try and get me my rights and things and get me my healthcare card, the carte vitale,
Hmm.
and I just didn't fit in, and I hated it. It was yeah. But so when I moved, the point is, when I moved back to Australia, I missed performing. So that's why I wanted to do something and keep that up.
But it's actually interesting because all your hardships here in Paris, you actually was able to make it into a little comedy thing back in Australia.
Yeah.
So it was good research And to be honest, of all the trials and tribulations that happen here, all you can really do is laugh. Like, at the end of the day, it's just like unbelievable. Like, what else can you do?
Yeah.
So for a while, you were actually giving Paris tours in Australia, weren't you?
So that's what I did. Yeah, as fate had it, I moved in. I moved with my parents from Paris, the center of the city. And even though I had a rough time in Paris, I love the city, always will.
Yeah.
Um, I moved with my parents in like the suburbs of Melbourne, so I couldn't do anything for myself when I was so stressed out. As soon as I got a job, I first paycheck, I moved out into the city and shared an apartment with a girl that I just I found on the internet, um, and she happened to work for the Fringe Festival in Melbourne. And she said, "Why don't you do a Fringe show?" And me, being me, just went, "No, I couldn't possibly do that. Or maybe I'll write it. Maybe it'll take me 3 years." And she goes, "Do it." She goes, "Do you know what? You sign up. Sign up is in 2 weeks. I'll help you sign up. Then you have 4 months to write it." And I'm like, "All right, I'm doing it." And so that's what I did. I adapted the tour that I did in Paris, the walking tour, 3.5 hour walking tour,
Yeah.
to landmarks in Melbourne, and it all added up, and it was an hour and a half.
Okay.
We have our art centre here in Melbourne looks like the Eiffel Tower,
Really?
so I started
Okay.
there, and from the get go, I was just like, "All right, welcome to Paris," and just had the whole illusion that we're in Paris, and
Yeah.
walked around to a national gallery which I called the Louvre. Giant street was the Champs Elysees, and yeah, and it was really successful. It was well received.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like an interesting concept. And, to be honest, it sounds like a really entertaining thing to do. And, from seeing you, I
Mm,
know we were tour guiding, but watching you do a tour is really like watching a performance. So I always say watching you perform,
yeah,
everyone was just completely captivated during your tours. I mean, I wish we had recordings to show my tours versus your tours, so you can actually see like, how
because I
amazing
love
Jack was and how
people.
horrible I was. Like,
Yeah.
but
It just depends what you were doing it for. Like obviously we wanted to because we just work for tips, and the tourists didn't know that we had to pay a cut to the tour company.
yeah,
So €2.50 from whatever their tip was went to the company. So if a couple gave us €5, we broke even. If they gave us
yeah,
less, we lost money, and that was frustrating.
yeah.
And I did lose it towards the end. I did lose it towards the end, and people who couldn't speak English were coming to learn English. I'm like, this is not the learn English tour. This is like Jack got to pay rent tour. Like you gotta calm
Exactly.
down.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Um,
yeah,
yeah, but it's especially when you're trying to start a career as an artist, it's really difficult because you really can't just jump into it. You have to kind of build the foundation and your network and your skills. So a lot of artists still need that side job, to support them and to pay the rent and stuff like that.
mm,
But what was beneficial about that, to start your own career is that it was flexible hours, it was decent pay if you didn't have a
yeah,
crappy group. And you had time to work on your craft. So it's kind of just those the starting times as an artist where you have to deal with having a crappy side job, but as long as you don't lose focus on the bigger goal, on your art, your creative project, you can get through it pretty easily. I think I got to the point where it was tour on, tour off. I don't know any of you, goodbye.
yeah.
um, but for you, I think each tour was a kind of practice. Like, if anything, you kind of had
Definitely.
a really hardcore crash course in performing. And the thing about tourists, too, they pretty much are a giant group of people with ADD. Okay, they are all looking everywhere. They're taking pictures of birds, of feathers, of like grapes, and like no one is listening to a word you say. You can literally say this is the Eiffel Tower, and they're like, "What's that?" This the fucking Eiffel Tower, people. Okay, it's like the only landmark you should know is this one right here. Um,
What's that chocolate burrito everyone's eating? The crepe? Is that what you mean?
where can we find macaroons? Like, any fucking place on this city. Even McDonald's has macaroons. Anyway, but
Oh,
you kept them interested and captivated, which was
mm.
just an amazing feat. That definitely takes talent.
I did
So
a different tour every day. That's the thing.
yeah, me, I started lying to them at a certain point because they weren't listening. I told them the French Revolution was won by the Spanish. No one would correct you. They're like, "Oh wow, really? That's so amazing." Yeah, they actually have a Spanish president. Anyway, um, just
President.
yeah, just showing you how horrible I was as a tour guide. Um,
Yeah, no, but I loved it. I love to tailor make it to people. And at the start, you'd have a long line of tourists, and I would sort of gauge them. I'd say a few things or a few jokes, test them out, sort of see what I would have to do to make them follow me and listen to me. And I would have, like, if there was, and I got really good at racial, well, profiling. So if I could tell if there was like a young Indian guy, I'm like, you are studying in Sweden, and they will usually be mechanical engineers, and
nice, yeah.
it was spot on.
So you know how to
And so then I'd have something
schmooze.
for them. Yeah, I know how to schmoo. I know, like, at least a sentence from most languages or a fact about something in
Hmm.
some country, and that just hooks them in. But crowd work, and that's what,
Yeah,
like, comedy, crowd work.
exactly.
So
So
the skills I learned.
yeah, so you know how to like bring everyone back if they're losing focus, which is great. So you can read it and use that into entertainment. Now you did do one show here in Paris, which I went and I saw you perform, and that was really funny. It was a like a English speaking theater. It was a really small theater, but it was a really funny play. And apparently, I didn't know because I'm not a theater like person. But I guess you did a famous play or a well known play.
It was just from a Australian playwright called Barry Dickens, who was
Hmm.
somewhat known. I didn't know much about him beforehand, but again, that was through my friend in high school who lived in Edinburgh, had a friend who was also from Australia who knew a girl in Perth who was in Paris who hooked me up with her. It's just the
Yeah, the
connections you make.
connections. But
Yeah,
you were
and so,
great in that play. You played like two angry ladies. I don't know, remember if you were sisters or something like that.
yeah,
But
100 years old.
I mean, you had a script. It wasn't kind of off the cuff, but you did have like a couple things go wrong, and but you worked with it, and you were able to like make it even funnier because of it. And just that on the spot kind of go with the flow. I mean, I think that's what really made the play. To be honest, people just love that. Um, so I want to talk about your one woman show in
Mhm.
Australia. So you were playing a French tutor. Is that it?
Kind of, again, I took my own experience because that was the original. To jump in, I was doing the tours because of what I knew, and I knew that I was good at it. I sort of tested it for 3 years with, hundreds of tourists. And this, I wrote about my biggest struggle in France, besides accommodation, was learning the language.
Hmm.
They wouldn't let me learn it. I mean, Paris is different. If I was in any other city, I think I would be fine. But yeah, and so that was a struggle of everyone wanting to use me as their English teacher, not wanting to teach me French, even my French boyfriend. And so it was sort of part lecture as well. I had a slideshow with all, like, the sort of illustrating what I was trying to say and all the funny situations. I tied it in the first kind of half. It went for an hour. Was about a house party and, like, little and introducing things that you would have to accommodate, like you'd have to do if you were in France, like a crash course or something.
Hmm.
So you greet someone and you have to faire la bise. You have to make
Yeah.
the kisses
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
everyone in the house party,
That's
and
always
then they
the
keep,
most awkward part too,
yes,
because like for some
yes,
reason you know what you have to do, but you still don't know if you're supposed to do it to every single
yeah,
person in this room. Like I don't know any of you,
yeah,
but it's an informal setting, so I guess you're supposed to. I'd rather really shake your hand because,
yeah.
yeah,
But and then the whole thing, like, apparently it came about because it's more hygienic to kiss on the face than to shake the hand because it's less likely to have fecal matter on your hand or on your face, not
oh,
in the
okay,
circles we roll
yeah,
in. But yeah.
exactly. Not from the people we knew. And then there's a count, which is weird because sometimes, most of the time, it's two. But then, like, there's
Hmm.
some people who are not really from Paris who do like four. So,
Yeah,
and
so
that's
don't get
even
out much.
yeah, that's even the
Yeah,
worst part because you're like used to doing the two, and then like they keep going like, oh, what's happening here?
dodging it.
Exactly.
And then you think, oh my God, what a wonderful culture. They're so adult, they're so friendly, they're greeting you and acknowledging you. And then you realize it's just their sort of, it's what they do. They don't really give a shit about you. And then they just turn their back and continue ignoring you.
I was gonna say you do that,
Yeah.
and like, and the
Yeah.
second afterwards, it's like you don't exist. Like, well, oh, I thought you were welcoming. And no, we weren't welcoming you in at all. Well,
And yeah. So that's what I was doing, and then going through the "Where is Brian" thing. It's like you know
Oh
the
yeah, that's
French
the
person
like the
asked,
the school thing, right? They teach you that in your
yeah,
sentence. Yeah.
where is Brian? I did have a group of 20 people that would not talk to me the whole night at the party. Finally get some courage after drinking a few Vin Rouges, and come up and go, and they just yell at you in a chorus, where is Brian? And I'm like, I don't, is he out on the balcony talking
Is he
about
supposed to
philosophy and
be
chain
giving them more
smoking? I don't
wine?
know.
What happened? Why are you guys so
Yeah,
angry?
it's wrong. And then someone finally told me it was in the textbooks. The first thing they learn in English is a sentence, where is Brian?
Yeah.
Turns out that motherfucker's in the kitchen. just
And I
hanging
think
out.
the second half of it was equally as stupid, like his sister's in the bathroom or something like
Yeah.
that.
So I went with that as well. I'm like, she's probably doing lines of laundry detergent because she's got issues or something. I don't know.
Well, I
She's a
have
loose unit.
um I want to read a little paragraph from the Australian Times. I reviewed your show, and I thought
Oh,
this was very pertinent. It said, from the very beginning, I'm not going to pronounce your name right. I'm sorry, Misford. No,
it's all
Mifsud.
right. Yeah, it's kind of phonetic. It's Maltese. It's weird.
Okay, say it again.
Mifsud.
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 There you go.
Um,
Perfect.
Her incredible skill as a storyteller is always evident. With great energy, she brings to life each hilarious scenario, detailing her desperate attempts to fit in with the Paris crowds while striving to learn and speak the language, ultimately resulting in embarrassing misunderstandings. Yeah, that's like every day. That's like exactly what life in Paris is. Like,
It
you
is.
could write this on a card and give it to people when they ask you, "Oh, so what's it like living in Paris?" Like this. It's
Yeah,
exactly like this.
it's reading.
Yeah. So that was
That's
a really well reviewed show. So I'm
yeah.
glad that worked out for you.
I was so surprised. Not that I don't have faith in my ability. I do. Not that I led on to it very much. But it's just it's like wow, this is my first comedy festival. It's the Melbourne International Comedy
Yeah,
Festival, which is a huge deal. Like I
definitely.
did that show originally for the Melbourne Fringe Festival in 2014, and then it was a safe thing because the Fringe Festival is it's the Fringe. Like you can read your grandpa's diary in his bathrobe in your kitchen, and people will come to it.
Yeah,
It's out there,
yeah,
so it's safe. Everyone's encouraging, but comedy's like, "Well, you're gonna make me laugh or what? What are you gonna say? Funny
yeah,
person." So
exactly.
it's a lot of pressure. But I had so many wonderful so much wonderful feedback from the first and the Fringe. I thought, you know what, I'm doing it, and it scared the hell out of me. But I thought, what's the point of life if you're not scaring yourself? Like you can't be safe all the time.
Absolutely. That's a great point. I
And I
always
did it.
say that comfortable is the worst place for an artist to be. Like, an artist needs to always be a little bit uncomfortable because that shows that you're growing, you're trying. Once you get
Hmm.
stagnant, you're not doing anything to develop yourself or your talent or do anything new. So then what's the point of it?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Um, so, I mean, I'm not surprised at all that your show was so well received. I think everyone who sees you perform sees as stars popping out of your head. But it is hard to kind of see that yourself because as when you're starting, you're still trying to figure out so much. Not only that, I think you're trying to kind of accept this identity of a performer or actress or comedian or whatever fucking label that you decide to use.
Yeah.
It's this it's really kind of this stage of just trying to really accept that within yourself. So people can tell you that 100 times, but until you kind of like start internalizing that, it's kind of
Mm.
hard to take those compliments. Um, and I don't think that's something that goes away very easily. Even now, if someone tells me I have a great photograph, I say thank you, but I'm looking at all the things that are wrong. I'm like, well, you didn't know that.
Yeah.
You're your own worst critic. So
Mm.
how are you kind of coping with like coming into this performer as a career stance?
Yeah, that's tricky. Because what I'm doing now, I've actually decided I'm not doing um, this year's Fringe Festival because I wanted to focus on and challenge myself doing stand up.
Hmm.
So, because I just went straight into the comedy festival. Normally, the correct or the, I don't know, more common way, good English, more common way of getting into it is to go around and do stand up and have work on some jokes and then get more jokes and then you've got a show out of it and then you kind of perform it and you have all the publicity yourself because you're going around. People are like, oh, who's that person? So I'm getting into that, and I have. I've only done four because my work, like I work, um, but you have to sign up at like 7:30 at night, but I work later, so it's hard to do it. Once I just left work, I mean, they're very lovely at my work, so it's cool. Like an hour and a half early, so I
They're
get
very
there.
lovely till you come in one day and the door's locked. Hey, what happened?
Yeah, doing. No, they're pretty cool.
Great.
But uh, yeah, and I did it, and also that scares me. I have like anxiety. Like it's not severe. It's a lot better than it used to be because I live by myself and I'm single and I want to say parent myself.
Yeah.
Like if I'm worried, if I'm freaking out, I literally sit myself down and go, all right, what's going on? What are you doing? And I talk it out, not
Yeah.
always out loud, but sometimes I do. I forget that I'm whatever. And I sort it out. I don't wait for someone to go fix my problems because no one's coming. This is just,
Exactly. Exactly.
you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And so I'm very, that's the thing, I'm hard on myself, but I'm also like credit when credit's due. Like I really appreciate the things that I've done, but I know I can do better.
Hmm.
So I'm also like, yep, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But for me, I'm not going to go, oh, I did a stand up night and I got a lot of compliments, but I'm not going to go, that was shit. But I'm like, oh no, that was good. It wasn't my best, but it was good. And
Yeah.
I'm happy with the progress. There's a lot of guys, it's male dominated, and they're really young. And one of the particular nights is just heaps of young guys, and they've got no life experience because, well, it's not their fault. They're freaking. Oh, some of them might. Some of them might have had a rough upbringing. Let's not generalize. I did. Whatever. Take it back. But they just talk about basically they've had sex in various different ways, and I'm like,
They
oh,
probably never gave a girl an orgasm in her life, so.
no. Probably not. So I come, I try new stuff. Also, it's an encouraging crowd as well. It can be really good. It's a bit clicky. It's pretty much like, and I'm a bit of a lone wolf. Like I don't need big groups. I don't like big groups. I don't need to hang out with the cool kids. I'm 29 for fuck's sake. Like
Yeah.
I've got my own thing going on. I'll be 30 this year, which I'm excited about. Some people are like, oh, don't be stressed. I'm like, when did I say I was stressed
Yeah,
about that?
good. Yeah,
Like,
it's funny, like, hindsight is the best educator. Like when you look back, you realize how much 20-year-olds kind of suck. Like,
I thought I knew it all, but I have a lot to like owe a lot to Paris. I have a lot Paris to thank for because thank Paris
Paris
for.
too.
Can't even fucking speak English anymore. I'm actually doing French lessons as well
Are you?
because I don't want to lose French.
Okay.
But uh, I toughened up. I'm a kid from the suburbs, like I still live with mum and dad as a 22-year-old. And I went there and I was confronted by a lot of things, a lot of pretty dark things, and I'm stronger for that. Like I'm pretty tough. Yeah, a lot tougher
I
than I used to
I'm
be.
always kind of interested in that because a lot of great artists, when you go back and you hear their stories, like they had some like really messed up upbringing, some horrible things happen, but somehow they were able to take that darkness and create something beautiful from it.
Mm.
And I always thought that was such an interesting characteristic of artists. I don't know what it is about kind of seeing those dark times where you can find the motivation to create something beautiful, into the world. That's always kind of fascinated me about artists. But one thing I really love about artists too is because everyone kind of, well, a lot of them, I think a majority of artists have some kind of like dark story to share. But if you get in a room with artists, they are cracking up about it like it was the funniest thing in the world. Whereas you tell the average person, they're like, "Oh my god, that's so horrible." It's like, we kind of work it out through our
Mm.
creations. It's kind of like our
Yeah, it's healing
therapy for the most
process.
part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, definitely. You got to work through it, and there's so many things that I learned the hard way there. Um, because I was getting $50, 50 Australian dollars an hour when I was working in television when I was 19, 20, 21. I do not have any of that money now. Like I
Yeah.
saved up 25 grand. I got nothing of that.
Yeah.
And I lost it all. And some of the best tours that I had was getting like 13 euros from like 40 people. And it was freezing cold. And we just spent it all on having a vin chaud, a hot wine on the Champs-Elysees, me and Alex. And one girl, it was freezing, and this tiny little girl, I think she was from the States. She was just like, "I'm so cold, but I stuck with you because you were just so entertaining that I just didn't want to leave." I'm like, "Oh,
Aw.
shut up."
And then she
But
passed out and died.
yeah, she's dead now. I went to her funeral, great canapes. Uh, but but
That's so
yeah,
funny.
but a lot of fuck, so many life lessons, all of them about myself and about relationships, definitely money and stuff. And the thing is, my little saying is nothing really matters. Some people have such a self importance, and especially in a monetary fashion, and like they're Louis XIV going around going, "Look at all the shit I have," and I'm like, "It's just shit.
It
It's
is
just
really.
shit."
Yeah, it
And you can't
really is.
appreciate money until you've had nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I was living on floors for a while, and just had my little wad of cash. And then when you don't, you have a great time because you just spend it all on beer and bloody cheese. Because
Yeah. It's so kind of contradictory. I think there's this time because there's definitely been winters where I've been living off bags of potatoes. Like I learned to make potatoes in every way possible. Even today, when somebody tells me they don't like potatoes, I'm like, "What? You don't know how to make potatoes?" But there's something like magical in that almost because you know you kind of find your passion and your passion carries you through it. Like if I didn't have a love for photography, I wouldn't have been able to make it through those times. So I think when you kind of find something that you're really truly connected to, it does help make the dark times easier. And it gives you something motivated to kind of move past it or look forward and just have a bigger goal. Something else is going to happen more than just this moment. Then you laugh back and realize that no human being should probably eat that many potatoes, but whatever.
uh, but
um,
no, yeah, you just got to do it. It's that whole thing of do what you love, and that's all. Just focus on that, and then everything will fall into place.
yeah,
And that's the struggle that I have right now because I've got a good job. Like I work in a TV studio, but as a fucking receptionist, pardon my French. Um, and no one treats me like that. Everyone loves me because I'm just such a weirdo. Like they're like, you crack me up, you make me laugh, but you scare the hell out of me. I'm like, hello. And I love acting dumb because like I'll have really like big CEO business pants come in, and like they'll be really rude. Some of them will be quite rude, not always. They're usually quite lovely, but on the occasion I just don't handle it well, and I just give it back and like I'm like, oh, I don't know how to use this phone. Is it press the button or you pick it up for? And I just will completely give this really deadpan I am
devastating.
special needs for,
Yeah.
and they'll just ring on the mobile the person they need to call, and I'm just like goodbye. Like an absolute
All the
deranged
little
stuff.
things you can do to entertain yourself, to keep going. This is funny.
That's what I do, and I'm very glad to have that job. I'm very lucky. It's well paid, but I'm too safe there.
Hmm.
Like, I need to be focusing more. Like, I'm not happy with the balance of what I'm doing. Like, I don't want my comedy stuff to be on the side. I want to like I'm looking at auditions and stuff. I just want to do stuff. I don't know what. I just want to do it. Anything. I want to go back to singing lessons, and I can do all of these things.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I can't do. I just because I catch myself out of the time saying I don't have the time, and I go, hang on, sorry, I haven't made the time
Exactly. That's a
because you
great
just got to
point.
be.
It's so true. I hate when people say they don't have the time for something. It, that excuse, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, is kind of bullshit. You always have the money for the shit you want. Like seriously, like I
Mm,
wanted a new camera body, and I was like, you know, I got the money. I don't know where it came from, but I got the money to get my
yeah.
new camera body. And it's the same thing. You have the time for the stuff that's important to you. Period. If
Hmm.
you want to make time to go buy a pair of jeans or something, you have the time in your day magically to go do that. So time is made, not found. Um,
Yeah, some people just they love making excuses, and I won't let myself make excuses. Like and even people, they come into work and they hate their job. They're just like, Oh, hey Jack, how you doing? Another day in paradise. I'm like, I don't need this negativity. If you don't like it, go away. Like, what is your problem?
Exactly.
And they just, oh, I've got the house and I've got the kids and I've got the
I
wife
get
and
it.
I've
Your life
got,
sucks. Blah blah blah.
yeah, but it shouldn't. I want people just to love whatever their choices are. Whether,
Exactly. There's
you
a
should love your family. You should love where you live. I hate this. I could, it's the only place that we could afford. I get it. Housing is so expensive, but save up more. Did you not realize that kids were expensive? Like,
yeah,
you
exactly.
made the choice ultimately. Like,
There's
no one
a
asked you to have 5 kids
there's a
and three
quote
cars.
there's a quote that I love, and it's called you can either do what you love or love what you do. You kind of have those two options. So if you
Yeah,
can't find the courage to go out and do something that you love, then you better figure out a way to love what you're doing, because that's where you are. You better find a way to
yeah.
love it.
And you
But
can't blame
you
them.
bring a great point, because like I said earlier, a lot of artists have side jobs and they need that to kind of pursue their creative careers. But for me, I found like when I cut that safety net, I was able to soar, fly higher. I'm confusing my analogies. It's just like something internal. It's like it's kind of you secretly saying, "Well, I don't really believe in myself that much. I'm not really gonna make it. I
Yeah.
need this side job." But when you cut that, you know, like for tour guiding for me, like when I stopped doing that, the amount of photography work just started to come, and I think it's more of a subconscious thing. You telling yourself like, "Hey, you can do this," but it's
Yeah.
not
No,
always
that's the
easy
thing with
to
the
do it
fallback
when the
because you'll do
time is
it. You'll
it.
fall back.
Yeah,
Mm.
but like you're saying, like you want to kind of make more time for your comedy, but that's a hard point to recognize. When can you cut that safety net and kind of spend more hours on your own creative projects? It's a step by step process.
Because
Um,
I made the choice to live by myself in a nice area. So rent is expensive, but I can make shit work. I can turn tricks. I don't know.
anything for a dime.
But I
So
need that struggle and I need that. The hardest thing, the difference between doing a comedy show or a fringe show, doing a festival show, as opposed to stand up, is that I had deadlines. And I know how I work. I need deadlines. I need to work towards something, or else that shit doesn't get done. And I wasn't doing it. I was only because my working hours. I was getting the end of comedy nights, watching everyone else do it, and the next day I woke up going, "No, today I'm gonna do a spot."
Well,
And
I
so I
think
got up.
that's important too, because I see a lot of artists. They may be talented, but they don't know how to manage their talent. They kind of let their talent take over them, and they have all these ideas, and they're trying to do so many things at one time. But when you really have to take a step back, because what we do is such an emotional connection. It's hard to kind of step back and take a logical view of it. But I think it's important, to manage that and build a foundation correctly. If you have 1,000 ideas and you're trying to do them all at once, you're not really going to accomplish anything. You have to
I'm
kind of,
guilty of that.
yeah. So being organized and with deadlines and setting those outlines for yourself is, I think, really really important. So I have a couple of questions here that I want to pick your brain about. The first one is like, where do you think your inspiration comes from?
My inspiration. Oh well, it's from a dark place. Not a dark place, but the fact that um, this is the thing that's hard to talk about because really personal things like, and I'd love to do some really out there stuff and talk about my family, for instance, who I love dearly, but there's a bit of tension there, and I just feel bad like I couldn't talk about them because they would break their heart, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? But I need to express that, and my inspiration comes from my father. Very talented man, very smart man. I get my humor from him. And so he was studying science at university and he had to drop out because he had to take care of his mum and of Nan. Um, and so he never got to finish and just got a shit kicker job that he hated, and hated, just like an insurance broker or whatever. And you know how usually smarts, intelligence kind of runs in the family. So his sister's a doctor, his
Okay.
younger sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so was a lot of pain in that, and just seeing him, and also, him and mum both had to work mum worked a couple jobs to raise us three kids, and dad would just hate his job. So such unfulfilled potential. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm never going to be like that. I know that I have talent. I'm going to work towards it. I don't, because I'm not afraid of failing. No, not at all. I remember a lecturer at uni, because I studied film at uni. I was really into film and photography as well. A lecturer said, give yourself permission to fail.
Yeah.
I think it's the most important thing. That's not my fear. My fear is not reaching my potential.
Right now they're calling it FOMO, fear of missing out.
Mm.
Which is true. I mean, I kind of see that too. You see, kind of, especially the generation
Oh, but
before.
kids use that when someone goes to the pizza place without them, like
Yeah, exactly. I
on a
missed out on
grand
the
scale.
pizza.
Oh my God, take my life. Oh, I hate kids today.
But it's true. Like, I'd rather try and fail than die wondering if I ever could have. You know?
Oh yeah, and I've been watching heaps of, especially on your blog as well, TED talks and stuff, and the Jim Carrey
Oh, I
talk.
love that one. Jim Carrey gave a beautiful commencement
It's basically
speech.
what you just said. Then it's like you can fail at something that you don't even want to do. So why not try at something that you want to do?
Yeah.
And I can, and I'm scared. I'm really scared. And some people just go, it's like sort of can't win, don't try attitude. But I'm going to try. I'm going to go out swinging, sort of thing. Like I have to keep going. And my goal isn't to be the best comedian alive. It isn't to be the most talented, not to win awards. It's just to do it. That is my goal, to do it. That's it. Start like that, and then see where it ends up.
Yeah.
And if I fail, good. Gave it a shot. Like, but I don't want to, my deathbed or whatever. Like, sit there going, I love my
I could have
receptionist
been
job.
somebody.
Yeah. Yes, on the day of my daughter's wedding. No, sure there was a Jewish godfather. Weird.
But but it's true. I think, I used to work in corporate America, and I used to work at that stale gray desk, everyone, and see everyone come in and out of work just miserable all day.
Yeah.
And all I could see was what I didn't want for my life for the next 40, 50 years. Every single day, everyone I talked to was like a mirror, like, I don't want to be you, I don't want to be you, I don't want to be you. And the reality is, being an artist is a very, very scary pursuit. You don't know where your next job is going to come from. You don't know when your next paycheck is going to come from. But,
Yeah.
you know, but having an office job, that's kind of the easy way, knowing where your check is coming from and blah. But there's a serious trade-off, because you trade your happiness for that stability. I'd rather be
Mhm.
happy and not know what's coming next than just be miserable and getting fed this,
Yeah, that whole cushy
routine every
job.
single day.
Mm.
Um, so I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, no, yeah, people just, and they like that, going, oh, what else can I do? A lot. You can do anything.
Yeah,
And if you get, I don't understand how, oh, she fell pregnant. No one fucking falls pregnant. Like, I spent a lot of my
thank
time
goodness.
not getting pregnant.
Exactly. I have spent my
You
entire
just sort it
32
out, sort your
years
shit out.
not getting
Yeah,
pregnant. It's amazing. It's actually easy to not get pregnant. You just don't get
yeah.
pregnant.
You just pop pills like no one's business. You just, right, you sort it out. But it's easy. It's so easy to do that. Oh well, she's pregnant now, so we can't do this and we can't do that. And oh, I don't want to live there because it's too expensive. And I would always rather, that whole thing, live in a shoebox and pay for it in the city for the lifestyle than live in the suburbs in this grand mansion. Like, just
Yeah,
it's experience. Like, you just got to experience everything. That's what I want to do anyway.
exactly. So, I want to start wrapping up this episode. So, before I ask you the last two questions that I ask all my guests, I just want you to kind of share your website and let everyone know where they can find out more about you, and what other projects you're working on.
Yeah. So my website is just, my name, JacquelineMifsud.com. Well, you put it on your site, won't you?
Yeah,
Because no
I'll
one
put
knows
it
how to
in the
spell
show
that.
notes. But can they find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Jack Mifsud. trying to be funny. Really, it's really hard. I'm just getting into Twitter. I'm like hashtagging this and doing that. But I swear to God, I don't get the followers on Twitter. It's like the stock market. You
Yes.
get 20 and they all go, and then I'm like, what happened? What did I do? And the world is so fickle at the moment as well. It's so everyone's just trending this and trending that and next best thing, and it's moving so fast, and it scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, it really is. Especially like in this digital world, being an artist is really difficult because like you're only as good as what you're gonna do next. Like that, you can be excited for something that happened, and then like
Mm,
5 minutes later, it's like, okay, well, that's done. Happiness over. Time
yeah.
to figure out the next project. And everything just happens so quickly. Um,
But you have to be multifaceted as well, as my a good friend and fellow comedian said as well. Like, you got to be multifaceted. So you got to be on your Twitter, and then it's got to go to your Instagram, and it's got to go to this, and it's got to go to that. And I made myself like a really nice like breakfast thing. It was like oats and yogurt and blueberries. And I'm like, this looks amazing. I'm gonna take a photo. I'm like, what am I doing? Why? Who gives a fuck what I'm eating for breakfast? Like, it's like we're being conditioned. We hear a bell and go, ooh,
exactly.
Pavlov. I don't know.
Absolutely.
It's yeah, but you kind of have to do that. Like, I'm at least doing it to try to promote myself as a performer. Whereas some people, it's just if you don't take a photo of what didn't happen like that, I don't know. It's crazy. Well, I'm not taking titty shots of myself, so that's all right.
Well, it's hard because you kind of need it for marketing purposes now, but at the same time, it kind of feeds an ego that you can't afford to have as an artist. I always talk about as an artist, you always have to be humble and hungry. Once you get that ego and you think you're the bomb.com and everyone's got to bend
Mm,
down and check you out, that's pretty much the moment you're going to fall flat in your face.
yeah.
So, and the social media thing, it's all like, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's you really have to kind of separate from that. You have to know that it's used for marketing and self promotion, but not to feed your ego. Every
Yeah.
person who likes me, who follows me, I am so, so grateful and thankful for that. But at the same time, you don't want to make it like I'm so important. So it's a
Yeah,
fine
and
line.
that's a fear I have, and also I really think it's an Australian thing, like the tall poppy thing. People just cut you down. Oh, what, you think you're fucking good? Oh, you think you're funny? I'm like, I'm scared. And I was afraid to even have Twitter because everything I'd write, I'd delete and go, no, that's shit. No one's gonna like it. No one's gonna like it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do what I want to do, put it out there, and I've accepted the fact, like a few years ago, that people won't like me. People will like me. Like, what's the point of? I'm not going to focus on those who won't. If they like, that's fine. You can't please everyone. I don't want to either. Like, if they don't get me, good. Like,
Exactly.
so I just need to be true to that whole be true to yourself thing. I need to remember that and not just go, oh, what if this person somewhere that I don't even know and someone so insignificant to my life doesn't like me? Who cares?
One thing that I've really learned through social media the past couple of years that I actually think is really profound is like, especially as an artist, for some reason in your own personal thing you have a good interaction because you kind of have like people from kindergarten who want to connect again. But when you're trying to start build yourself up as a brand and get people to kind of focus on what you're doing, more than anything, it's from the beginning you don't get that much comments. It's kind of crickets out there and you're hoping somebody will find you. But as time goes on, you'll start getting like random emails with somebody or a random direct message and someone just reaching out to you, and you realize like there are people listening, and
Yeah.
you're slowly tapping into the community of people who can resonate with your message, with what you want to do, with what you have to say. So they're paying attention,
Mm,
even if they're quiet. They're there. So remember that. Don't be afraid to be
yeah.
authentic and put whatever you want on your Twitter or your Instagram or whatever.
And
Because
so
I
just
think
look at it every second, going, "There's no likes, there's no favorites. What's wrong?"
that you should
Stuff
never
taken
do.
out, taking up smoking.
Exactly. No one likes me. No one cares.
But that's all right. I like me. It's fine.
Exactly. You're awesome. So, do you have anything you could recommend to our listeners? Like, if it's a book that helped you, a video, a quote, or an application that helps you, just anything that it's kind of touched you or kind of helps you stay organized as an artist.
Well, yeah, like inspirational quotes and stuff. That Jim Carrey thing that I said before about doing what you love, because you can easily fail doing something you don't. I get, because with my anxiety and stuff, I get muddled and I want to do everything at once and I can't. And my friend just wrote this little message down for me. I do post stuff all around the house to try and, but then I'm afraid if someone will come over, they'll read it and go, "You're an idiot." And I'm like, it's my house. Why am I afraid that
Exactly.
someone will do that? Um, I actually have written and pinned on my wall, "Everything is actually okay."
Yeah.
So I just look at it and I exhale and go, I got this. But also when I go, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. And so the thing is, start where you are,
Yeah.
use what you have, do what you can.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
It's because it all makes sense.
It's true. I mean, if if you learn to stay in the moment and do what you have to do now, it becomes easier because like fear and worry is all about tomorrow, but
Hmm.
in this moment everything is perfect. Everything
Yeah,
is fine. So if you can kind of manage that and kind of learn to kind of be centered and not worried about 15 years, because who fucking knows? You might not even be here in 15 years. What's the point of worrying about it then? Just think
yeah,
about right now and do what you have to do. Okay,
exactly.
so I have two questions that I end every episode of the Artist 2.0 podcast, and I'm
Oh,
gonna
damn.
ask you. So the first one is, what do you expect from life?
What do I expect? My expectations on life. I don't really expect anything from anyone. I expect a lot of myself, but of life in general, for it to be just I don't know, an interesting experience and journey and to learn. I just want to learn as much as I can. I'm not sure. And my priorities have changed so much as well. Like, I think, being a young girl as well, it's like, I haven't got a boyfriend. What's wrong with me? And then I had a few boyfriends and I'm like, what the
What's
fuck
wrong
is
with
wrong with
them?
them?
Exactly,
So I'm
exactly.
so happy and honestly happy being single.
Yeah.
Um, and I just want to see where things take me. Like, I'm going to New York for my 30th and I want to know what's going to happen there. Maybe, I don't know, the city will call me and I want to stay there for a while. But hopefully it's fun. Hopefully I can share some wisdom that I'll acquire down the track. I
All
don't know.
right,
What
I
was the
think
question again? Uh,
I think you answered it. So the last question is, what do you think life expects from you?
what does that even mean, Sophia?
Hey, we're
What's life?
artists. You have to interpret it the way you want.
Yeah. What does life expect from me? Um, I think the hardest thing. My cousin had a baby, well, a year ago now, and everyone's like, "Oh, look at her eyes, or look at her hands. She's going to be a painter, or look at her feet. She's going to be a dancer." And then my cousin turned around to me and go, "What do you think she'll be?" And I'm like, "Well, hopefully she's the one important. She's the only thing that matters, which is happy."
Yeah.
So I think happiness is so, especially with mental health issues cropping up more and more. Like, hopefully, life expects me to be happy and do something that makes me happy, and to find that, because that is so difficult.
It
Because you can
is.
have all the money in the world, who cares? Money can't buy you love. I'm now I'm now in the Beatles. Maybe it's that. I don't know. Uh,
Well, I hope that you'll come back on the podcast and we talk a little bit more when you kind of further along on your journey and you can kind of talk in
yeah.
hindsight, because hindsight I think is the greatest educator for an artist. Um, so thank you for being on this episode. I really enjoyed talking to you and catching up a bit and reminiscing on our horrible tour guiding
Yeah.
days here in
Oh, they were the
Paris.
best days. Thank you so much for having me. I was so flattered that you asked me. I'm like, who wants to talk to me? It's a
You
terrible attitude to
were
have.
on the very top of my list. You were number one. Just because, like I said, I know you probably think this is just me kind of inflating your ego, but I really, really did see something in you when you were here in Paris and when you were in front of a group. You were just so in your element. I saw you like that girl has to be an actress or somebody. It just has to be. And if you didn't make it happen, the world would have had a great, great loss. So I'm glad that you're pursuing this career path, and I cannot wait to see how far you fly.
Thank you so much. I'm just always trying to find that spark again and to have that. Thank you
Well,
so much.
again, thank you for being on the Artist 2.0 podcast. You can find out more about us on our website, www.artist20.com. And as always, be excellent.